In every organization, developers need some sort of infrastructure. Now, this need for infrastructure triggers this cycle where work begins, some sort of approval is needed, and then the infrastructure is finally provided. This is called a cycle time. Multiple of these cycle times combine, each owned by a different team, in order to provide infrastructure, especially in large organizations. Each of these cycle times end up taking its own amount of time, combining together for a total lead time, in this case 4 weeks. Let's look at an example where a developer needs infrastructure from a platform team. The request is received, work begins, and then an approval is required from security. That request is received, the approval is granted, and then they complete it and give the infrastructure back to the developer. This took 3 days from security, 1 week from the platform team, and the development team ended up waiting 1 week and 3 days. Ideally, we want this to be about 2 to 3 days. So let's identify each cycle and then look at that. The platform team, for example, got a request, work begins, approval is required. Now, they had a manual provisioning step once we dove into what's happening when the work happens, and the approval is required because security wants to verify their network configuration. Now that we understand the needs of the organization, we can make suggestions of how to automate these things. For example, instead of doing manual provisioning, using an infrastructure as code tool like Terraform, and also a tool maybe like Terraform to automate the policy check as well, thus getting us much closer to that 2 to 3 maximum, ideally minutes, honestly, for developers to have to wait for infrastructure. That way they can continue focusing on the features they need to develop and get value in front of their customers.